Good morning, greetings. If you haven't greeted Coach Newsom today, be sure you say hello. And I hope you had a good day yesterday and your day today is going well. For our class activity today, we are going to look at theater as an art form and how it developed over time. As usual, we will start with our attendance question. How do you think theater started? Who did it first? Where did it come from? Why did it come about? There are no wrong answers. You are not supposed to know the right answers. That's why you're in class, to learn something new. Don't worry about right or wrong. Just answer honestly and guess if you don't know. It's okay to take a guess. Please pause the video to answer your attendance question in the Google Classroom under today's tab. If you are joining us in person or synchronously in the Google Meet, please share your answers with Coach Newsom and engage in the class discussion. All right, welcome back. Our notes today are going to cover 3 theories of the origin of theater. So for our notes today, we're going to look at 3 different theories of the origin of theater. Those 3 theories are oral history, ritual, and institution. We're going to talk about each one. Okay, so the first theory we are going to look at is oral history. This is the oldest theory. We are looking at peoples of ancient cultures and very old traditions. We know that storytelling is as old as cave drawings and the early development of spoken languages. Humans have been telling stories as long as we have had language. Okay. So under oral history, make sure that you have storytelling, okay, and the approximate date. Okay, so there are several elements of theater in ancient storytelling. So why do we think that oral history and storytelling is where theater began? Well, because there are lots of elements of theater in the oral history and storytelling traditions. So first up, there's the performer and audience dynamic. Okay, so you have one person who separates themselves as the performer to be watched, and others give their attention to that performer as audience. Okay, and then you also have acting. The performer pretends to be a character in the story, speaking and acting as the character rather than themselves. So kind of the difference between a narrator and a character, right? So we also have ritual clothing, which is made up of masks, makeup, and costumes. There's artifacts that tell us that these things existed with ancient man. You have planned and repeated unwritten scripts. So the myths and legends and histories that ancient peoples repeated and told over and over and over and over again are like scripts. The same plots and stories, the same dances, the same songs. And of course, yes, they evolved over time, but there is a through line, a uh, something that keeps them in common, and they're repeated, okay, and they're planned. All right. So the next theory that we're going to look at is ritual. We're going to look at ritual, okay, and we're going to look at a passion play. Okay, a passion play is a dramatic reenactment of the death and resurrection of characters in a story. Okay, the death and resurrection of a character is actually a very old storyline. Okay, we're going to look at the first example that we have evidence of a passion play. Okay, and that is in ancient Egypt. Okay, so our oldest known passion play is the Abydos Passion Play. Okay, and it is a ritual reenactment of the story of the death and resurrection of the Egyptian god Osiris at an annual religious festival in the city of Abydos. So it's the Abydos Passion Play because it takes place in the city of Abydos. Okay, and we're looking at 2500 BC to 550 BC. Okay, and it included staged battles, processions, burial ceremonies, recitations, and then the principal roles were performed by priests, and the crowds in the play were performed by the people, like the audience. So it's kind of like if you've ever been to a call and response where someone up front starts a phrase and then the audience finishes it. So why do we think that, the evidence that we have is the Icernifret stone. Okay, we know about the Abydos Passion Play because of the Icernifret stone, and it was a tablet written or chiseled by Icernifret, an Egyptian official who participated in the Abydos Passion Play between 1887 BC and 1849 BC. So Icernifret's account of what he did it's an account of what Icernifret did as an actor in one of those festivals. One could argue that Icernifret was the first actor. Okay. So why do we think ritual is the origin of theater? Well, because there are lots of elements of theater in the Abydos Passion Play. Okay. We have the performer and audience dynamic. We have acting where people are pretending to be roles. Ritual clothing with masks, makeup, and costumes. We have written and repeated scripts. So the difference between oral history and the Abydos Passion Play is we have written scripts, things that were planned out and written down to be performed. So plots and stories and dance and song. Okay, and that is our second theory, ritual. Okay. All right. Our last theory is institution. Okay. Institution. And institution just means an accepted way of doing things. Okay. So the third theory of when and where theater started is ancient Greece. This is the first time we have theater existing on its own, not in conjunction with oral history or in conjunction with ritual. So developing into its own art form and cultural institution with jobs and buildings and standards. Okay, so it grew out of a religious festival. So much like the Abydos Passion Play, okay, was a religious festival. You had the city of Dionysus, which was a religious festival for the Greek god Dionysus. And it was a festival that actually included a 3-day long play contest. Okay, and we also, out of this, have arguably the first actor, Thespis, and we're talking about 550 BCE to 220 BCE. All right, so why do we say that ancient Greece is the first place that we have theater? Well, it's the first place where we have theater buildings, architecture, buildings that were designed and built specifically for theater performances. It's the first time that we have professional playwrights, a person whose career it was to write plays. The first culture where we have professional actors, where it wasn't a religious or a civic leader who was performing. It was actors who that was their job. And then a lot of our conventions today can be traced to ancient Greece. So words like theater and tragedy come from Greek words. Theater architecture, where you have a stage on one side, an audience on the other. Play structure. Plays are divided into acts, and acts are divided into scenes. Scenery. This is the first place where we have evidence where temporary structures were built specifically for a specific play to show the location of the play. And then we also have costumes and masks specific for theater performances. And this is where theater starts to become its own institution separate from religious ritual or separate from oral history, where it becomes its own thing. All right. For your project today, you will need the notes you just took. So please have them ready if you need to review or you need to look at the slideshow. The slideshow by itself is in the Google class activity along with this video. In the Google Classwork under Today's tab, you will find the Theater Origins Project. You'll be asked about each of the three theories of how theater started: oral history, ritual, and institution. Using your notes and the videos in the project, you will develop your opinion on when theater started. Okay? Please complete your project promptly. And thank you for learning with me today. I hope you are well, and I will see you next time.